Topic 1. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is under criminal investigation, impacting U.S. Treasury yields and causing market volatility. Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, is facing a criminal investigation by federal prosecutors related to his congressional testimony about a $2.5 billion renovation of the Fed's headquarters. Powell stated that the investigation stems from dissatisfaction with the Fed's decision not to follow President Donald Trump's demand for interest rate cuts. This situation has led to rising U.S. Treasury yields and increased volatility in the stock market. Trump plans to replace Powell, which has drawn criticism for threatening the Fed's independence. Concerns are growing that the Fed's interest rate decisions could be influenced by political pressure. Powell emphasized that he will carry out his duties without political fear. Topic 2. China and the European Union have reached an agreement to address their ongoing dispute over electric vehicle imports. China and the European Union have reached an agreement to resolve their dispute over the import of Chinese electric vehicles. The EU announced a guidance document that Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers can refer to when proposing export prices, which includes minimum import prices and other details. In 2024, the EU plans to impose tariffs of up to 35.3% on Chinese electric vehicle imports, citing unfair competition due to subsidies from the Chinese government. This agreement will also consider the investment plans of Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers in the EU and will be evaluated in a fair and non-discriminatory manner according to World Trade Organization rules. It is expected that this will foster healthy economic and trade relations between China and the EU and protect a rules-based international trade order. Chinese electric vehicle brands are likely to gain reassurance for continued exports to the European market, with their market share in Europe expected to double by 2030. Topic 3. Geopolitical tensions involving Iran are influencing global oil markets and prompting potential U.S. intervention. The Asia-Pacific markets mostly rose, with South Korea's Kospi index reaching an all-time high. Meanwhile, protests in Iran have continued for 3 weeks, drawing attention to oil prices. Over 500 people have died in the protests, and President Donald Trump is considering intervention in Iran. The escalation of protests raises the possibility of a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which could significantly impact the global oil market. Experts warn that a complete blockade could lead to a $10 to $20 increase in oil prices per barrel. The U.S. is reviewing various response options, including cyber attacks, enhanced sanctions, and military strikes. Iran has warned of retaliation against U.S. and Israeli interventions, suggesting potential threats to regional energy infrastructure. As Iran faces an economic crisis and escalating protests, the legitimacy of its regime is weakening, and while U.S. intervention could undermine the regime's repressive efforts, it could also strengthen its cohesion. Trump is considering restoring internet communications in Iran and has mentioned potential collaboration with Elon Musk. The protests in Iran are intensifying due to the economic crisis and currency devaluation, putting the regime under both internal and external pressure. Topic 4. The Trump administration's aggressive stance on U.S. tech dominance is creating friction with Europe. The Trump administration is taking an aggressive stance to strengthen the dominance of U.S. tech companies, leading to friction with Europe. President Trump is pressuring the European Union and other foreign governments to ease regulations on U.S. tech firms, while also pushing for reduced regulations domestically. This tension arises from fundamental differences in opinions on tech regulation. Europe believes some regulations are necessary to promote online safety, free speech, and industrial competition, while the U.S. is generally more